Afternoon, everybody. We at chapter 2 on this thing right now, right? This is still Hot Mic with Lady She podcast. I'm your host, Lady She. Today I have my guest, Mr. Tyson from Freeport, New York, just speaking about his story, his growing up situation, and how he became the man that he is. We just gonna jump right back into it. So before we clicked off, Tyson was sharing with us. Basically, I was asking him questions connected to the environment in Freeport. I'm from Long Island as well, so a lot of what he's speaking about is very familiar to me. So I was just asking him questions about, when he decided, when he got to a point where he said, I got to do something, for the family. We kind of messed up right now. So that's when he decides to get into the game, the drug game, so to speak. So Tyson, go ahead, you can tap back into that game.
Yeah. That's when I made a decision to try to get money.
Yeah.
Because at that time, if I'm reflecting and staying true to the mindset that I was under at that time, I think the most accurate truth that I can give you was that I didn't see anything outside of that demographic, right? A state of living outside of my immediate environment didn't exist to me then. I had two safe havens. Martin Luther King Drive when I was a certain age. No, I'm sorry, I had three. There were two uncles, right? My Uncle Barney and my Uncle Willie. My Uncle Barney lived on the north side of Freeport. My Uncle Willie lived in Queens. They were two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would spend a lot of time on the weekends at my Uncle Barney's house on the north side, getting away from, I wasn't running from my area. I just, again, looking for father figures. That's my uncle house. You know what I'm saying? So I would spend a lot of time with my favorite uncle at the time. And then my other favorite was his brother. I would spend time in Queens with my cousins. I had cousins out there that were closer to my age.
Gotcha.
So I'm saying, so those are my safe havens. But outside of that, my community and the things that went on in my community was so prevalent and so powerful. I didn't see anything outside of that. Like we were at the age where dudes are starting to get jobs, you know what I'm saying? Or perhaps maybe go to college, or I didn't see that reality for me at that moment, under that present state of mind.
Right.
It was all about outside and who the strongest men were outside.
Right.
And getting in where you fit at in that hierarchy of strength. That was all that mattered to me.
In reference to the streets.
In reference to life, period.
Reference to life, period.
Yeah, because this, this was life. This was my life.
Right.
What's going on? What y'all doing today? What's good? Where we at? Where we going? You go get something to smoke. You go upstairs, get a bag of weed. You guess when 40s was out. You go get a 40. You go get a sandwich. And then you back in the projects hustling.
Right.
That was life.
Right.
But it wasn't a bad life. It was just life.
Right.
It wasn't even bad nor good. You know what I'm saying? It was the reality. On hindsight now, I can say that it was bad. But even then, how can I say something was bad if it educated me? You know what I'm saying? If it went into the development of my mindset now. And so I went through some darkness. I made some poor choices. But inside each one of those poor choices were seeds of growth and development. So those choices led to consequences that were necessary for my development as a man.
Right.
And so although I didn't have a father figure, I became the father that my dad never was to my children. But first I became a man that he never was. You know what I'm saying?
So now I have a question. Just want to know your opinion on it. When a mother says to her son, her child, that you are now the man in the house and he's a kid, do you think that can be damaging because he's not actually equipped? Or do you think that is something that it's in the eye of the individual?
It depends on the theology, right, under what she says that to him under.
Right, touch that.
It depends on the culture of the household. It depends on what perspective she's coming from. You can't tell him or a child that he's the man of the house and not give him the tools
Right.
that will enable him to do man things.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know in other cultures, for instance, the Jewish culture, right? When the young child goes for his bat mitzvah, right? He's in essence, he's giving training or a ritualistic ceremony, introducing him into adulthood.
Right.
Uh, so so a lot of times we slow our children down because times has changed. It is not so rough as it was outside. It's a different kind of crazy outside now. But a lot of us are doing okay now. So we live in different areas and we have the opportunities to give our children more. So telling him he's the man of the house or the man that's in the house is a little bit contradictory. You know what I'm saying? But telling your child he's the man of the house and then giving him the proper training and the proper game and insight to be able to take more responsibility for himself and play a significant role in his family, I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? That's bullshit. That's mafia shit. That's organized thinking shit. You know what I'm saying? That's the place where we come from. That's the place where we were talking about earlier when women were able to raise a man by herself because she still had a certain mindset herself. You know what I'm saying? And somehow our woman, specifically in black culture, has lost that. The ability to be able to not teach a man how to be a man, but just raise him how to be a responsible man.
Right.
You know?
So now, just thinking back to you being 16 years old, you jumping out there like, I'm going to do something else. These dudes my age is out here, they killing it. Like, they killing it. I'm getting borderline bullied or whatever because I'm now that kid that's wearing the same clothes twice in the same week going to school. You know what I'm saying? I'm now that kid that might not be smelling too good because I don't have deodorant. So now I want to do what you guys are doing. This is going on while you are still living with mom, correct?
Yes.
So now my question is, even looking at back then and now, do you think sometimes we have to stop? We have to be real and say some of it is also connected to mom allowing certain things to go on.
Well, it is a tricky situation.
How so?
I had enough. At that point, I was convicted. I had made my mind up, regardless of how she felt about it. It was
real.
I made a choice. You know what I'm saying? And I think Churchill said something about when a man decides or when he chooses, providence opens.
Yeah.
So something clicks in your mind when you choose, whether it be bad or good. When you choose consciously and you're willing to take the responsibility behind your choices, it does not matter who is in opposition to those choices and decisions. You've decided. And then at the same time, if we want to keep it real, I know a lot of dudes who grew up in a household where their mama knew they was hustling.
Right.
It wasn't a secret.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like we all a generation away from slavery. Right. We all away from the migration from the South to New York and to these different places. We all a good job away from being fucked up. Excuse my language. You know what I'm saying? We all a good job, a good, few years on the job from being in a bad situation. So back then it was more real. It was more wholesome. And the same way I was desensitized and I grew up seeing this just as a way of life, think about the mothers who were living then. Right. At least I ain't got to worry about them now. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And I'm not saying that it's bad nor good. It's the reality. And when there's no strong man around, and what's she going to do, babysit me? What's she going to do, stop me from, I'm a 15-year-old boy. Right. You know what I'm saying? What's she going to do, stop me from going outside? That's where parental guidance comes in at. That's why you got to be in your children's life. You got to know what's going on. But what do those women who lack resources, what do? We see it now. Because although this is not back then and this is now, these women got to be at work. You know what I'm saying? They doing doubles. Yeah. And they're leaving these young men and women up to their own devices. Right. And so it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so what about when these children decide? And then they join the gang or they get down with a crew or something. Because the gang going outside, doing the quick jokes or selling drugs, And as ignorant as this may sound, but you're speaking to a person who is a re-entry specialist, and I've sat with hundreds of kids, and I understand the dynamic is that those things provide an immediate solution to their situation.
Right. Right.
See, first if they get down with a drug, right, a robbery, to take somebody's phone, they know a place where they can sell his phone for $100, right? To be down with this, they get the approval of their peers because all these kids are under peer pressure. They all messed up. They all come from broken homes, right? So we decided to steal the phone, not only by me being down, even though I may not necessarily feel it in my heart, but I get the approval of my peers. Then when we come off with the phone and we get the money and we go get an eighth of weed and everybody getting Chinese food because we're talking about children and their minds are undeveloped.
Right.
It's an immediate solution to hunger, to the need to want to belong. You know what I'm saying? And this is why the gang culture is so prevalent. It's an immediate solution to young men and women who don't necessarily have.
Don't have the options.
Yes,
right.
It's all that's there. What else we gonna do?
Yeah.
Even in speaking with the children, right, and trying to do certain interventions, these children are fine while we have them in groups. They're fine while we have them at the church. They're fine while they're listening to us give up our experiences. But these children got to go back home to a messed up situation.
Say that, Tyson.
You know what I'm saying? They still got to go back home. And maybe their parents may not got it together yet.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so just want to go back a little bit, now that we're back on. You said something that was interesting. You mentioned, the drug dealer that'll give you $5 to go to the store, he'll say keep the change. Do you think where we are, like, I know you're not in the streets anymore, but when you look at what's going on, do you think that we've lost, when it comes to the hoods, do you think we've lost the OGs, so to speak? Because even there will be those OGs that knew you was a good one, so they would try to tell you, nah, don't do that. They would try to pull you back in particular. Some of them they were looking at like he's like a lost cause, but something about you. They would kind of pull you back like, nah, don't do that. You think we've lost that?
Yes. That's important that you point that out. Excuse me. We did lose that kind of OG, you know what I'm saying, or elder in the community. And there's a lot of different reasons and a lot of different places we can go with that. But so let me just give you a scenario that took place in my real life. And peace and bless be upon this OG, this old timer who had he had a major influence on my developmental years, Rakim, right? He's from Freeport. He just passed away not too long ago. But I recall one day being outside in the projects, and back then, what the dudes who was getting money would do oftentimes, they would get a case or two of Heinekens. This is before Corona and all these other beers became popular. They get some Heinekens. They would probably get a bottle because they were getting money. They ain't had no job to go to. The job was all around them.
Right.
So they would be outside in the back drinking, maybe shooting some dice. So one of the other dudes, which took a liking to me as well, said, "Yo, dude, you want a Heineken?" So I said, "Yeah." Because it felt great to be accepted by the older dudes. You know what I'm saying? So I went to grab a Heineken, and Rakim slapped it out of my hand. I thought he was disrespecting me. I felt horrible. I'm like, damn, why you do that to me? I didn't say those words. Like, he chased me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have stood my ground, but you kind of don't want to stand your ground to your big bro. Like, you want to just play that little brother role because of the other benefits that come along with being a little bro. Right. Guidance, support, you know what I'm saying? Got your back a little bit, making sure you get a fair shake in these streets. So you have a certain kind of reverence for these individuals. Right. But he smacked the Heineken out of my hand, and I didn't understand why he did that until later on upon reflection. Because what happened was he didn't see me as that. Right. I was 15. So can you imagine your 15-year-old child or my 15-year-old daughter outside drinking a Heineken with you grown-ups? You know what I'm saying? How I'm going to feel about that? So he smacked it out of my hand and told me to get the F out of here. But he wasn't trying to disrespect me. He had enough courage, enough heart, enough sense to try to discourage me. Right. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to discourage me from going down that path. Right. Not you, bro. What you doing?
Yeah, what you
You
doing?
be out here drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand that. And that goes back to what you're saying about the quality of the OG.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, these guys had your best interests at heart. Even if they introduced you to doing dirt, they kind of spent a little bit of time with you to show you how to do dirt properly.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you do this, you know what I'm saying? Make sure when your mom's call you, you answer.
Right.
She'd send you to the store, you go to the store because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we still got to keep the community.
Mm-hmm.
When that lady come in the building, you make sure you hide the blunt
Mm-hmm.
or you move the beer.
Mm-hmm.
That came from their instructions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, again, the crack epidemic, when kids started making more money than their dads, and these guys were getting exuberant sentencing laws, exuberant sentences as a result of the sentencing laws, they were getting so much time that a lot of these kids who we see outside today didn't have a connection to the OG or to their dad or to their uncle. You know, so they were left to their own devices. So we lack that now in the community, and also they're not outside the way they used to be, in front of the building or in the hallways. You can't stand in the buildings too much no more. You know what I'm saying? They don't hustle like that no more.
Right.
So you are disconnected from a source of jewels, guidance, and information. You know, so there's a disconnect. And then the old head has phased out. Even in prison, the old strong dude that came in prison in the 70s and the 80s, who his word was law, he stood for black consciousness, black power. He did what he did, but he was more for social consciousness. Now he's 60 and 70.
Yeah.
And those young dudes don't know his story because they don't know their history.
So the respect.
Yeah, so the respect is gone. You know, so they disrespecting these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you for that. So now, all right, you win the game. You said you've been arrested a few times. How did you meet? Because you said you're married now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you meet? Your queen. How did you transition to say, all right, enough is enough? First of all, did you become a dad?
We're gonna need a part 2 to this joint.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna have to.
We're gonna need a part 2.
We're gonna have to.
We're gonna need a part 2. But all right. So I went to prison at 16. I did a 1 to 3.
Explain what that is. People don't be knowing about.
I went to prison. I went to prison at the age of 16. I caught a 1 to 3. 1 to 3 years. After 1 year, you can go for the parole board.
Okay.
I ended up doing 24 months. 14 months and 5 days.
Okay.
Right. I came home from Fishkill Correctional Facility. Now I'm 17.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to Freeport. I try my hand in the game. I caught a parole violation. I dropped marijuana in the parole office, thinking I was slick.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Thinking I was slick, I dropped. But that means that I had to go back because there were some lessons that I didn't get.
Yeah.
Obviously, for me to be brazen enough to try something like this, there were some lessons I needed to go back into the chamber because I had left some things behind. Right? So the way life is situated, I had to go back and get that. So I went back to do a parole violation. Then I came home at 18. Now I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit smarter, so I believe. At some point, I had got introduced to reading, and so I became an avid reader. And so the seeds of consciousness, knowledge, and information are being planted in my subconscious, but I don't have the maturity yet to activate off them. So they just inside my spirit. You know what I'm saying? And so I came home at 18. Then I bought my first gun. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm ready to utilize all those bad lessons that I picked up from those guys that I met upstate.
Come on,
you know what I'm saying? So now I eventually got arrested a second time when I was 19, about a year later, for armed robbery. Now it's real because the first one was a BB gun. Now it's a real gun. So now I'm 19. I went to trial. I blew trial. I got sentenced. I went to trial. I tried the case, and I lost. I was found guilty of armed robbery in the second degree, knowing that I should have took my medicine because I know what I did. But sometimes the slickness it takes over, and you think that you can beat the case.
It's like the ego.
Yeah, you can maneuver around this, and they don't really got me. All that bravado, all that crap that you pick up in the prison environment, and I blew trial, and they sentenced me to 8 years to 16 years. So I went away upstate. Now I've been to jail. I've been upstate twice. I did a 1 and 3. I did a parole violation, but now it's much different. Now I gotta live here.
Right.
Now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Now,
grow up.
I got to grow up here because now, 19, I came home at the age of 30.
Wow.
But something significant took place during that time. When I was around 21, my mother died. So now,
while you're in prison, you lose your mom.
Yes. Now I'm in downstate correctional facility in Cadre, and I remember it like it's yesterday. But now I'm crushed. But I remember, to backtrack a little bit, when I blew trial, because I knew I blew trial because when they brought me back out to the table, I saw that the water jug wasn't there anymore.
Ooh.
And so I was like, I just felt it in my spirit that they remove a weapon.
Yeah.
Because if I was found not guilty, it would have been some water there, maybe some damn champagne, right?
Champagne.
You know what I'm saying? But there was no water jug there. I said, oh God, I blew. So when they said guilty, I looked back, my mother and sister were crying like babies. Now I'm a little boy. Now I'm a little boy again.
Yeah.
Now I know that I messed up. No, like I really messed up. I messed up. All that slick shit, all that tough shit, all that wanting to be down, it's out the window. Now I want to reconnect with my mom. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, Tyson.
And so I remember going back downstairs in the bullpen. I was crying. I remember some dude that I knew from back in the days that actually I used to be intimidated of. He said, "Yo, man, don't be crying." I cursed him out because now I have arrived.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now we have to get everything straight. I got to be here.
Yeah.
So don't play with me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm still hurt. I'm crushed. But I got through it. And I came home at the age of 30. So from that 19 to 30, I just imagine no proms, no dates, no going to the mall, no hanging out with your friends, no sports, no college, no none of that. So I ended up growing up and evolving in prison. But during this time, having become an avid reader, having become conscious of my culture and our origins in this world, a new world began to open up to me. A new Tyson began to evolve and to emerge, and then through education and reading and raising my levels of consciousness, I began to glow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I still had hustle thoughts in my mind because I hadn't had enough yet, but there's another person that exists in me. You know what I'm saying? That you're talking to now, right? Without the going back and forth to prison. But the reading and the study, and then by raising myself out of the mud, my principles and my morals and my code of conduct begin to grow as well. You know what I'm saying? Now I know right from wrong. You know what I'm saying? Now I speak up for the weak. You know what I'm saying? Where I was weak before, now knowledge, study, and information now has made me strong. Because in prison there are three types of men: the weak, the strong, and the wise. The strong control the weak, and the wise control them both.
So what makes them weak? Just not know who they are, just their movements, not having anything.
We talking weak in strength. We talking those who can be dealt with fear and intimidation. That's the weak. Those who have no power, whether they come into the consciousness of themselves or not, they're just weak.
Right.
Then you have the strong who rule the weak. Prison is not college. They have college in prison. They have learning facilities and programs in prison, but prison is a place of punishment.
Right.
Prison is a place of degradation. The worst of it. It's not a nice environment. So if a guy can go and spend significant amount of time in prison and come out with his faculties in order and his morals and principles intact, then he is a powerful man. Because prison does not promote that.
Right. Ooh,
right? Because in order to survive, you have to become.
Right.
You have to change your constitution. You have to change who you are.
And adapt.
Yes, you have to adapt because there's a different set of rules and regulations that govern that life. It's a world within a world.
Right.
You know?
Woo! That was a lot. Thank you for that. So now, Mr. Tyson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't answer the last part. I came home. I had one more shot. I didn't learn my lesson, but this time it was federal.
So now you're 30.
Yeah, now I'm 30.
Now you're 30. Okay.
I got a nice job.
Okay.
And I'm blown away by this beautiful woman who was just my girl at the time. And so I caught the federal gun charges this trip. and we got married in Nassau County.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? She wrote it out, did every square inch of it, and so we got married, and we just been married, and we built a family from there. I
Okay.
wanted to get that part in it because you
Yeah.
asked the question,
Yes, I did.
and so I wanted to complete that.
Appreciate that.
And she's a magnificent person.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't miss a visit, made those trips, carrying those bags up on them buses.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with creep drivers
Yeah.
trying to be disrespectful, and you know what I'm saying, and just going through them subways, coming back from Pennsylvania, 12:30, 1:30 at night on the van with people she don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So I had to mention that because it's important to the story. It's important to. It's a part of my evolution. Coming home, being married is perhaps what has me here right now. It gave me something to keep me stable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It got me stable. Something to. It's made me completely accountable. I am not without sin and error,
Right.
but
None of us are.
but I got it pretty much in check.
So let me ask you this, and it may sound a little weird, but when I would speak to the kids at the schools, as a correctional officer, I would share with them that they would be surprised how many people that are incarcerated are illiterate. As if they don't know how to read.
Oh, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. I'm sorry.
No, so when you bring up that you became an avid reader, do you feel that that is also what got you through being able to? Because in my brain, I'm like, how do you be okay not knowing how to read? Because how are you getting knowledge except someone is speaking to you, pouring into you? So do you think between learning through reading, having a conscious decision to say, I want to learn more, so let me read these books, the person told me this book was good, let me read this book, let me read about this, let me read about that, and having a good woman, do you think that is what kept you kind of sane and helped you to develop to who you are?
In my later years, yes.
Okay.
Because when I did the 11 years, I didn't have my wife did.
Right.
But the reading in the study is what sustained my spirit.
Right.
It helped me to develop an internal power. And also, working as a GED tutor, I discovered what you just spoke about. Most men in prison are illiterate.
They are.
And what the prison does to our men, and they don't realize it, is they let you sign out of school if you can read on the 8th grade level. They allow you to take what's called a TABE test. And if you pass the test on an 8th grade reading level as a 24, 34, 50-year-old man, they allow you to sign out of school so you can vegetate in the damn jail, spend more time in the yard at some menial task.
Right. Or watch TV or something.
Yes, and I was a tutor in ABE, Adult Basic Education. Run, fun, sun, done, look, cook, book was my class, and these were grown men.
Right.
So
wow.
Yes, these are grown men. These are grown men, and it's also amazing too that some of these are illiterate guys are also running significant empires too. So it speaks to our ability. We all have different learning methodology. We learn differently. Some of us learn by what we see.
Right.
Some of us learn by what we hear.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not all of us have the affinity to be book smart. And so these guys are doing significant things, and you would never know this guy can't read. But you also learn that when you begin to get sharp, guys hire you to write letters for them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You'll write this letter for me, do this poem for me, and you begin to see that this guy who's cutting everybody in the yard is a dumb bastard.
Yeah. Absolutely. No,
right?
That's why I brought
He's
it
a
up.
dumb bastard. He's doing all this mayhem, and he comes to you,
he got to ask somebody younger than him to fill out paperwork.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, and that's that's how these men come home, and they're dependent upon women. They have their female do all their interviews, fill their applications out, take them down to DMV, which is okay. But as a man, you got to be independent. Yeah. Be dependent, but independent.
So let's fast forward a little bit, because I know we got to do this again, right?
Yeah.
We got to do this again. So I'm gonna try to go through this. So now you're married. This young lady held you down. Now, as a man, or should I say, let me say this, we should be taught, or some of us are taught, that when we have our husband, our man in the household, he is the head, right? And as the women, the nurturers, the wives, the mothers, we are to understand our position, as your helpmate, right?
Yes.
So how was the transition of this young lady holding you down, holding everything down outside in the world, right?
Mhm.
Waiting for you, and then having to put herself in that position to say, okay, I no longer handle everything. I have to make sure he's in place and know he's the head of our household. So what was that? You grinning. What was that like?
Man, we be fighting like cats and dogs. Man, we be fighting like cats and dogs. You kidding me? Shit. Yeah.
He's like, we ain't got no way together yet.
Hell no.
We're still learning.
I've been home for 12 years.
Right.
Well, because, and I am the king of my home.
Yeah.
Let me just get that straight.
Yeah.
I'm the king, and my wife acknowledges me as the king.
Right.
But once she discovered her own strengths as well, it is difficult for her to forget that she has developed these strengths.
Okay.
Because now that she is taking care of bills, running the household, making sure the lawyer is paid, making these visits, sending me packages, and dealing with her own personal isolation and separation and just raising the child by herself, she, as a result of all that, she empowered herself.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to see things about herself.
Right.
And so now that I'm home, and I'm the man of the house stuff, she like, yeah, be quiet. She like, I'm like, you be quiet. Like, you be quiet. I'm like, what?
She's like, what? Hold on, I'm holding this down, sir.
Yeah.
Time out. Okay. I get that.
And I don't hit. Mm-hmm. Let's be clear. I don't hit. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in that.
Right.
So she ain't gonna ever shut up. Mm-hmm. Because I can't make her shut up.
Right.
No, but we talking real though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't make her be quiet because of force and what I say. I love her. And she loves me. And so, you know what I'm saying? So if she don't decide to be quiet, she gonna keep going.
Right.
But what will make her be quiet and, is just her respect and her love. And I had, of course, as men, and we don't perhaps like to acknowledge or admit this, in this kind of scenario that I'm speaking on, you have to re-earn your spouse's respect. You know what I'm saying? She may respect and revere you naturally, but I did 3.5 years, so through 3.5 years, she also grew as a woman.
Right.
And so who she was, she no longer is, and who I was, I no longer am. And so we have to spend some time getting reacclimated, getting to know each other again.
Getting to know the new you.
Yes. Yes. And more importantly, getting to know the new her.
Right.
In relationship to me.
Yeah.
And so there weren't a lot of successful relationships and marriages that we had to draw from.
Right. I was gonna actually.
We didn't have no. Yeah, it's all good. We didn't have no models.
Right.
And so we were living. We were shooting from the hip. Yeah, we were just living. Mm-hmm. But to our benefit was who we were before we met each other. We were already principled people. Mm. You know what I'm saying? We were already disciplined. I'm bright. She's bright. I'm responsible. She's responsible. I can cook. She can cook. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so we
Wow. So now you mentioned something that I didn't even think about until you said it. You said her, having the children. When did you start having kids? So you said you met her when you came home, right?
So when I went in, we had one daughter. When I went in, we had one daughter.
Oh, you already had a child.
Yes.
Okay.
And then when I came home, we had my son.
Okay.
And recently, about 2 years ago, going on 3, we had the baby.
Okay.
Yeah, and Zinga.
Okay. So now I'm trying. You're gonna have to come back on because I want to tap into paperwork. Good. I want to tap into urban life. So now, in reference to her growing up into her own person, learning who she is. Tell me what you feel about when you see our men, I'm talking about us, our men, go in and out of prison and continuing to make children.
It's
what would you
irresponsible.
say? Right. So, okay.
It's irresponsible.
He's like, it's irresponsible.
It's irresponsible.
Okay.
When do we evolve?
Right.
If
Because you're speaking to the kids, and I get that because I'm speaking to the kids as an officer, saying, I'm yelling at dad because he having too much fun in there, and I'm telling him I gotta come speak to you to make you know that it's not your fault that he's in there. So what do you say to the children when you like, I've been there and I understood my kids were hurt when I wasn't around? So what do you say? What is your thoughts on that?
on my thoughts onto children when I speak to them,
Yeah.
in terms of what?
In terms of
change.
them understanding that, you're gonna have to make better decisions because maybe dad didn't, or mom didn't.
My children, or
No,
just children in
general.
general.
In general.
Well, it's difficult, like we said earlier, to reach any of these children, especially if they come from unstable households. So while we have these children in our presence, in our group, and our organization, we just have to do the best that we can to find something that they can relate to. Because the unfortunate side of speaking with children is that if you recall, I began my sojourn in the streets at the age of 15. And regardless to how many times I've been in and out of prison, that desire, that taste, that thing that caught my attention, it had to be worked out of my system.
So it's like a drug.
Oh,
I say it all. I'm like being in the
yes.
street hustle is like drugs.
Yes, it is.
It's
It is
very
a drug.
addictive.
Yes, it is a drug. It's definitely a drug. But so my theory on speaking with children is the same theory that a doctor or a nurse or a fireman has to have.
Okay.
And they know that they're going to lose some patients and some clients.
That's good, Tyson.
They know that they're going to lose them. They know they can't save everybody.
Right.
But you show up to work every day anyway, because that's what you have chosen to do. So when I speak to children, I'm not speaking because I believe I can save this one in front of me. I'm speaking because I'm trying to save as many as I can. Period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they got to. I also know on the flip side that they got to work it out. I can also know that after we build and we interact and I observe, I know they're not ready yet.
Right.
And so at that point, I have to shift what my dialogue is, and very, very carefully and very skillfully, my dialogue shifts to, and don't misconstrue this, to teaching them how to do what they do better. So not get away with crime, but to instill certain principles, morals, and ways of looking at the world in them while they're doing crime. Okay. So that hopefully these things begin to take root and it will outgrow their desire to do crime.
What does that sound like? What does that look like? Like, I'm a student, you come to my school, and you see that I'm already in it.
Choices and consequences. Okay. I always start off by telling them my story, and I highlight each time why I made a choice and where I went wrong. And my whole goal is to infuse in them that you can pick the choice, but you cannot pick the consequence.
That's a fact.
And
that's a fact. Some
consequences are more devastating than others, and they take years before they go away. Because in my favorite book, As a Man Thinketh, he says in there, and I'm paraphrasing, you can put your hand in the fire, but you can't pick, even after you take your hand out of the fire, when the burning will stop. You see what I'm saying? So you put your hand in the fire and your hand is burning. When you take your hand and you think that the burning will go away, but the burning don't go away, you just took your hand out of the fire. Now you have to deal with the afterburn.
What type of burn?
Yeah, what level of degree of burn that you're going to receive. Yeah, and it has to work itself out, and only time can do that.
That was good, Tyson.
You know?
That was good. All right, so quickly, because you know I'm going to have to come back on, man, because I got a bunch of questions I couldn't get to. Where did paperwork, first of all, what does paperwork good mean? What does that mean?
No snitching. That is just the foundation, the roughest, the crudest definition of paperwork good. No telling. Yeah. No snitching, no cooperating with the government. So before we go, I'll just give you a quick rundown on how I came into the awareness of paperwork. In 2007, I caught federal gun charges, 922G felon in possession of a weapon, right? We spoke about that. So when I went back to Nassau County, um, now I have a federal case. I go to the law library to begin legal research to figure out how strong or how weak my case is, what my options are, because I've been to prison so many years and so many times that unfortunately and fortunately, when I get there, I know exactly what I need to do.
Right. Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like a surgeon going to work. I know exactly because my life is at stake, so I know where's the books at. I'm not these other guys sitting in there concerned about the radio or who did what and going to play some basketball. Let's get to this library. Yeah. When I get to the law library, I discovered that federal cases are not in the New York supplement. They're not in the regular section of the library. You got to go to federal supplements.
Oh, it's its own entity.
Yes,
okay.
You got to go to Supreme Court rulings. It has its own laws, rules, and regulations.
Right.
And the sentencing guideline is different in the feds than it is in the states. There are no plea agreements, so to speak, in the feds.
Right.
If you got a 20-year offer, you can't have your lawyer now talk them down to 5 years. They have what's called the federal guidelines, federal sentencing guidelines, and it's a chart, and it's universal across the United States.
So it's just what it is.
Yes.
Wow.
So you got a charge. They have a number system. On this side of the column, they got 1 to about 26. On the top, they got like 1 in numeral letters to like 12. So you would be of offense level, such and such level of these months, and I forget the exact terms. An offense level of 3 or 4, and you meet in the middle. And whatever month range that it falls on, that's the area of where you would be sentenced.
Right.
So it ain't no. That's how we can see.
Joke.
That's how we can see discrepancies in guys' stories too. We're talking about
that ain't right.
How many pleas? When my lawyer talked them down.
That ain't adding up.
How you gonna talk? How you gonna talk the guidelines down?
Right.
So anyway, I get back to the dorm. And one of my common friends introduced me to somebody else who had a federal case. And he started schooling me on legal research and where to look at. And then he said, yeah, you know what I'm saying, when you get to the feds, you got to make sure your paperwork is right. And I said, well, what's paperwork? He says, your paperwork is what tells those guys, who are already in the prison, how you got your time. It spells it out. It's your sentencing guidelines or your judgment and commitment paper. I got a copy over there. You know what I'm saying? It tells you if you cooperated or not. If there's anything blacked out or any pages missing, that's not looking good. And the reason why this is important, because in the feds, the cafeteria where you eat, the tables are segregated by state, gang, and religious affiliation. The New Jersey table. State, gang, and religious affiliation.
So people with a state, who when they're under state.
No.
You mean state like New York? And,
yes. The whole cafeteria. The whole cafeteria is segregated. Wow. I'm talking about real tables. The cops know this is the thing because they got to minimize beef and drama.
Gotcha.
So each table, in essence, becomes a gang. What I mean by that, the New York table, the Virginia table, the Connecticut table, the DC table.
That's how people refer each other by state.
Yeah.
So it was like, what's up, New York, like that.
Or the Bloods, the Crips, the Neanderthals, whatever it is, they have a place to sit. And at those tables are the people that are from this place. So before they'll accept you at the table or before they'll accept you as one of their own, what does that mean? Meaning that before they'll get into something with you, go out with you, because we don't know who you are. Right before they started sending everybody to federal jails, the federal prison system was a closed-knit society. Everybody knew everybody. So they can go off a word of mouth. So now that they started bringing low-level criminals there, you know what I'm saying, the mafia has been like pretty much decimated, you know what I'm saying, and they start sending kids there with crack cases, and you get caught with 2 grams of crack.
It was all mixed up.
Yes, nobody knows everybody. So
Right.
So paperwork is a universal method of character validation.
Wow.
Yo, what's up, fam? How you doing? Where you from, bro? You from Queens or where? I'm from Brooklyn. That's what's
Right.
up, man. Yeah, when you get some time, bro, man, what we normally do is, we show our paperwork so we can just, that's what we do.
Whoa.
And so there's always one person who's gonna come to you, and they'll always offer you theirs. It's my paperwork if you need to see it, because before you can ask somebody for theirs, you gotta be willing to show yours.
Right.
It's a clear glass of water.
Right.
This is not a game. These guys from 16 to 60, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Kingpin to, it does not matter. It is a universal method of character validation.
Right.
Right? In its crudest sense. But aside from that, it's evolved. Because you got some people who paperwork is good who never been to prison. Right. It's just character. It's integrity. It means you check out. It means you are who you are.
You good.
Yeah, you good. You know what I'm saying? So that's what paperwork is. And that's where I got the concept from. You know what I'm saying? A universal method. Like, I got this saying that says when your paperwork is good, it's your visa through life and your passport through the hood. You know what I'm saying?
I love
like,
that.
I ain't never been to prison, but you don't gotta go to prison. Where you work at? What's your reputation amongst your job, amongst your peers? How do they look? Are you trustworthy,
right?
Or do you betray a confidence? You know what I'm saying?
That's good. Love that. Love that. So now you decide. Now this is when you come home that you say, "I want to take this a step forward and start an apparel line."
No.
Oh.
When I was in the feds, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do when I got home. Because now, at this point, I'm done with crime. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, so I didn't speak about crime. I didn't speak about none of the stuff I used to speak about during my previous bits on this one. Now I'm reading, I'm running programs, I'm all the way in. You know what I'm saying? In terms of growth and development and education. And now I'm looking for what I'm going to do. What have I chosen? And I came up with the concept to do a magazine. And that's why I came up with Urban Life News Magazine, a hip-hop street culture theme magazine, designed to demystify the criminal justice system. Because while I was in the feds, what I saw when I looked around was I saw a segment of men who still had a lot of fight in them, but they lacked resources.
Okay.
And so I thought that if I can come up with a hip hop street culture, because I'm still street, I'm still hood, magazine is dope. You know what I'm saying? Right? But what can I do with the magazine? A magazine will allow me to disseminate as much information as I can without doing it on a personal level.
Gotcha.
So we talk about the latest.
Explain. I know what you're saying, but explain that to those who know nothing about nothing.
Well, in prison, you got men who have been in prison for 20 and 30 and 40 years, and these men may have appealable issues. They may have good points that will give them a time cut or get them back home to their family. And some I know and some I don't know, but when I was in there, I had decided to utilize my experiences to be a voice to help those men and women. I could have done anything I wanted to do with my time in my life, right? But I chose to try to get information, to be a beacon of hope, to inspire, to motivate, to provide these men with the keys to freedom. Even the men who may not have an opportunity to come home, inside Urban Life News, we have articles that will give them personal freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom, a reprieve, another day of hope inside a dark situation.
Right.
And so I can't help these men individually. I can't put money on everybody's account.
Right.
But what I can do is I can create a medium that would allow me to publish the type of information that is specific not only to their needs, but to the needs of the men, the mothers, the fathers, the cousins, the brothers who are there to support these men.
Right.
And they may not know about what's going on. What about the first time? Because a lot of times these guys be telling these bullshit stories about how they did their time and they really don't get no visits. Nobody comes to see them but their grandmother, their aunt, their girlfriend, their big sister.
Right.
And oftentimes we learn by default, meaning we learn about the system while going through the system. But in Urban Life News Magazine, all you gotta do is subscribe and stay abreast of current events and changes, and it'll educate you, or as well as entertain you, and it's and it's dope.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and I love that. It also brings information to people who know nothing about it, and it can spark a light to say they want to get involved. You know what I'm saying? To be of an assistance to make change. So that's the the big thing as well. Not just the family understanding they're not alone, that they have a loved one incarcerated, but those on the outside who may see this magazine or read an article and say, listen, we need more people to get involved and see what's going on in these prisons. We need more people involved to see what's happening.
Yes.
But this don't sound right. Like, if this is going on right now, this don't sound right.
Yes.
And,
I'm glad you made that point, because that's important. Also, for the rights of the prisoner, they're treated harshly in there. And some prisons are worse than others in terms of the way they treat it. Some places are inhumane.
Yeah.
And people on the outside need to know what's going on. And also, people on the inside need to know that there are organizations on the outside that they can reach out to.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Listen, you're dope, man. You're dope. You're dope. Listen, you're not gonna have you come on again, because I had a bunch of questions. But listen, if someone just came on this live and they kind of read the caption and say, okay, his name is Tyson, that's her guest, he owns this, he owns that, okay, let me see what they're talking about. If they came on right now and knew nothing else but what you own and what you're doing, what would you leave them with?
I'm gonna just wow, that's a lot. Well, if you can get to it, you can get through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about taking lemons and making lemonade.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. The business, the speaking, all those that comes later. But the essence of what I believe I share with people is, if you can get to it, you can get through it. Because everything that we go through, whether it be prison, poor choices, bad relationships, there is a seed of some prosperity, some blessings inside that thing that you were going through, that obviously you had to experience in order to get to that seed. Nothing that takes place in life is without a purpose, without a lesson. And so people who are just tuning in, there's several things that you can get. We can get from prison to empowerment. We can get, regardless of what your situation is, you can take control over it and start your own business. We talking family stuff today. You know what I'm saying? Family first. It's the foundation of everything that we see.
Yeah.
So we have to bring back the black family.
Yes.
We have to stay in committed relationships, regardless of what we go through. Divorces at a very high rate, 7 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? And the children are the greatest.
I love that. So tell the people where they can, if they want to reach you or support. Paperwork is good. Y'all know I got my fitted. I ain't wear it today. I should have put it on today. The Urban Magazine. Tell them where they can contact you.
Well, there you go. I'm heavy on social media, Instagram, because it allows me to dialogue and reach a lot of people. So I'm on there as Tyson _ the first. I'm the first in my family to break these generational curses.
Yes, sir.
And we have a YouTube channel. You can go on there and check out some dope interviews that I did with some underworld figures and some hip hop entertainers. Urban Life News Magazine.
All right.
And that's about it.
And that's the number one in Tyson _ first. The first,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And they can inbox me, message me, and we can make it happen.
Okay. So now also, so those are the ways, because I'm thinking my brain is going in reference.
And the website is www.urbanlifenewsmagazine.com. They can subscribe. They can also leave me a message there.
All right. Cool. All right. Listen, everybody. Today was dope, man. Like, I'm so glad. Thank you, first of all, because I know you're busy. So I truly, truly, truly appreciate you coming on this platform. Sharing not just your story, but sharing your encouragement. You know what I'm saying? That says a lot about your character as a person, as an individual, as a black man, as a father, as a husband, as a business owner as well. Listen, make sure you guys support him, please. Instagram, make sure you check him out, inbox him, DM him, or whatever. Visit the website as well. Thank you in advance for all those who came on today's live. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, Hot Mic with Lady She Podcast. Listen, we are up this month, y'all. We're giving the men a platform. We're giving the men the floor to talk their talk and Tyson ain't do nothing less but talk his talk, and I am encouraged. I am encouraged by you, sir.
Thank you.
You know, continue to push, continue to be an example. You know, continue to speak to people unapologetically because kids need was real. They need was real. They tired of the fake stuff. They tired of the glitz and glam. They want to understand.
Yeah.
Oh, he started a business. Oh, he started a magazine because of what he went through. Okay, well I know how to write too, so I can start a magazine. You'll be surprised at the seed that you plant in someone just by sharing your story.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, you know, continue to push, sir. And yes, once again, thank you to everyone who supported this platform thus far. Please stay tuned all month long. This is the Men Where Art Thou series. This is just the beginning. Tyson is my third king to come on, and I'm just being filled, y'all. I'm learning as y'all learning. So let's do this thing. And we out of here. Everybody have a good afternoon. Peace.
Peace.